not to cut you off, but so are the fights and stuff in there and the violence that you're speaking of, is this on an everyday, basically all
Yeah,
day basis?
yeah, like yeah.
It's
I mean,
constant
you even know the
squabbling.
sound. Like depending on
Right,
what facility at, you know the sound. Like you
right,
hear
right,
that, the bunks is moving. You know what time it is. Like if you by the TV, do not look back because you don't want to alert the police that something's going down back there. Like
right,
that's telling. You know what I'm saying? And if you in the back and you hear it, like you going to basically get your popcorn and turn and see, oh, so
right.
and so getting down. Cool. Let's see what It's like, but then when somebody falls and busts their head open, and now it just seems serious. Like you hoping
Right,
dudes
right.
wake up. You hoping that they wake up because all of a sudden you're like, damn, that's a real youngster that could be dead right now or have some brain damage behind a fist fight that was over some whack ass shit. And
Right.
he facing 40 years of life.
So it goes, so basically in an instance, it can go from a little bit of entertainment now to, the humanity in us. Cause I've been in situations where that happened too. We all like to see a good fight. Like you say, we're raised from a particular area. We have certain ideas about, what men should do. And so, but in a split second, it can go from a good fight to having a strong human concern for an individual. Like you said, someone you consider your friend.
Dude, and then all of a sudden it's like whatever that situation was, it just wasn't worth this. When you seeing the
Right.
blood come out of him and he like shaking on the floor and you thinking like, damn, and people are worried, like, should we go get help or should we like
Right.
it just don't seem worth it at that point in time. And then you thinking like, damn, and then he walking around afterwards still,
And then you
and
made
you thinking,
it. Once again, sorry to cut you off once again, but
yeah,
you made a good point in there, because like you say, now these dudes and got into a good fight. You have a lot of dudes in there who holding on to that no telling mentality. So now you got one of your homeboys laying on the floor shaking, having a mini Caesar, and you have dudes who don't even want to go get help because they don't want to be seen as a person going to get the police for anything.
there you go. You know, there you go. Like it just don't seem worth it. And then you hearing too black, too strong, and you like, wait a damn minute, is it like, is it like we're
Right,
not encouraging? A brother will come to me and tell me like what he really wants to do with his life, like what's really going on. He dedicated to his set because that's where he grew up. It is what it is. But really, he got a passion to do something dope. And I'm like, man, damn, you need to go ahead and do that. Oh man, yeah, maybe I don't know. And then you realize with the situation we in, we were here on the side of a bump at midnight over a spread. I'm facing 500 years. You facing LWAP. Like we should have had this conversation a long ass fucking time ago. You stressed out about, we're not even really stressed out. You looking forward to like this person is caught up in all the culture and expectations that he has to do on a daily basis, whether it's fight or check or rep or whatever. But ultimately, when all that shit fades, when it's late at night and who he's really thinking about who he is, he really wants to fucking like play ball
yeah,
or like go to school or something, like travel and all this other shit. And it's just like fuck. And then I'm watching them, because I'm in there. And so you seen the oh, I got to take a deal. Should I take that deal for 40 years? You feel me? And should I
right.
take that deal for 25 to life? I'm facing LWAP. Should I take the deal for 20? Shit, yeah. Like don't roll the dice. At least you got a shot. And it's just like, it just seems like such a waste. It just seems like such a waste of talent and ability. And I didn't really see who was winning. Like I could see the police look like they was winning. They were coming in there with entertainment. And mind you, because when I was in Wayside, I grew up in the area over here by Wayside. So a lot of the police I went to high school with.
Uh-huh.
So when I'm seeing them smile, I remember the laughter of like dealing with racist jokes when I was in junior high and
Right.
wanting to fight. And so I'm seeing these same kids grow up. These people, this is probably the closest interaction they've had with large groups of Black people or any culture really. And so they're entertained by this. And they get to come in and throw handcuffs on people, bust them over the head with fast, like, and turn up and just dominate. And I just didn't like it. I really, really did not like it.
So can you explain to me an incident where you guys was caught up in a riot in there with the Hispanics, and what was that like?
Well,
Maybe
there's always like some melees or something, but the biggest one
yeah, I was gonna
was in
say, if you can give us your whatever one that you remember the most that you felt was really big and bad or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, LA County Jail had a lot of some dudes would have razors and things like that, but for the most part, it was always like fist fights and things. Like so, like none of that really shocked me. Like I've been in melees in high school, so like, but it just like getting pumped up to be to be like, it was weird to like be mad at somebody just because of what they look like. Because I grew up with, I have friends that were Hispanic and things like that. So coming in there and it was like, okay, I got to be able to punch somebody, just identify them as being Hispanic, and basically go hard in the paint on them just because it was difficult to try to summon up an anger for that. But there was every ride that I was in that LA County jail was a defensive ride, meaning that we were getting attacked in some type of way. The biggest one I remember was actually, I was a MAC rep at the time. For some reason, the brothers had factions, and the MAC rep was really like a babysitter at that time. So like there was long story short, but I was MAC rep, and a white dude came and told us, he was like, look, man, the Hispanics in the woods, and the Pisces are planning on attacking y'all this Friday. And it was like Tuesday. And I was like,
so
oh shit.
So what were the numbers like? What was in whatever dorm he was in?
It made sense because like over time, that number situation was happening. When I got in this dorm, it was like 50 blacks in the dorm.
Okay.
Like literally, I would count a child like, okay, cool, 46, cool. And there'd be the bad moves would happen. Like I told you, like every day, people would, and then you got people going to court and like not exactly coming back and things like that. And so like we were in chow one day and I'm like, damn, what's going on? I counted, it was like 22 blacks. I was like, man, our numbers then came off. And mind you, there were certain Hispanics that got moved in that had authority. Like I could tell by just how people moved around them and what was going on that, there was something different. Like it seemed like there was intention behind it. So I didn't know what that pattern meant until this wood told us like, hey, they planning on getting off on Friday. And I was like, okay, that's why all this is happening. So I counted the numbers and I'm like, shit, we about to fucking be fighting 80 people up in here. I know everybody ain't gonna show up, but we had some pretty tough blacks in there. And so I let the blacks know like what was going on. We spread the word to other dorms, and it was just a weird ass tension because, so you talking to other races, like shit is happening all, you already know what time it is. But now you keeping a secret and you looking for the secret in their eyes. Like, okay. During the week, like shit just started like, the blacks pretty much knew, and it was more like a gamble. Like, are they really going to do this? And so we were ready. We hoped that the other dorms were ready, but I should have did the math right. But it didn't happen on Friday. It ended up happening on Thursday. I remember I was sitting there and they made an announcement, in the LA County jail, they always say radio and everybody gets quiet behind that radio. And there was an announcement about the newspaper not leaving the table until 3 o'clock.
So who's making this announcement?
It was Southside. It was one of the particular ones that I said got moved in there to be in a leadership role.
Okay.
And he made an announcement like
to his people. Okay.
Made an announcement. Yeah, he made it to the homies. You know what I'm saying? To the homies. You know what I'm saying? The newspaper does not leave the table to 3 o'clock. Everybody listening. And I ain't never heard no announcement like that before. I've been in that dorm for a few months, and I'm like, I was like, they doing it today at 3 o'clock. And so I went and told the blacks like, hey, be ready. Today is going up. And I could tell from after that announcement that he did, like, homies, the newspaper don't leave the table till 3 o'clock. I could see the reaction to the rest of the Hispanics. Like you could see fear, you could see people trying to amp themselves up. You could see, it's just different. Right. And so the blacks was ready. Everybody had their shoes on. Now, usually 3 o'clock, people was like, they trying to rest and think and sleep and all that. Not us. Brothers was like ready. And it was just interesting to see like, okay, how's this going to happen? How's this going to happen? When you outnumbered like that, you're just like, I'm about to just go fucking crazy. And it's organized. You already know what I'm talking about. Like, I'm about to go as hard as I freaking can. Because when it's 22 blacks, I don't have to be specific about like, where's my partners at? Okay, make sure that we, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. It's 22 of us. Shit. So we already had our plan on what we were going to do and all that. And the dorm under us went up. You could hear it. And the CO was trying to get everybody, stay on your racks. And then, the next dorm next to us went up. And then you start hearing, bunks start moving. Immediately, the blacks was up and moved into our position of where you're supposed to be at. Brothers had their shit packed. Brothers had everything. Certain people had like whatever burners they can get. And that's what time it was. Like every black knew what was going on. There was like a standoff for a while because they started, meeting to where we were at. And brothers was like, brothers was not going to rush out into that. There's 22 of us. And so we're waiting for them to like, come on, but we got a hard line. They try to throw apples and shit. I got hit in the neck with a fucking green apple. Somebody had a Dodger arm. If that apple would have hit me in the center, I would have dropped dead right there. Like I was shocked. That green apple was a monster.
And so did the whites who was locked up, did they join forces with the Hispanics at that time, or?
Yeah, yep. The whites and the Pazas, like I mean, they kind of had to, and it was funny because you see people that like they trying to look like they want to get involved, but they not trying to get involved. You know what I'm saying? And so because they've known each other in the dorm for so long, you know, this is not a real human thing. Like there's no real enemy here. It's just you're black, and I'm like and mind you, dudes have been like talking and things like that. So when they pulled the leaders in there to do whatever they're gonna do, a lot of dudes are doing it because they have to out of fear.
Right.
And so you can see that. You can see who, okay, this dude really wants to fight, and this other one is like really trying to look like he wants to fight, but he really don't really want no conflict. I don't want to say it's fun. It wasn't really fun, but like there was a clash, and you know it did go up. But when the police came, and it really wasn't nothing crazy. I thought I was I was worried about getting cut and stabbed. That's what I didn't want. I was not planning on no damn green apple. I was not planning on that at all. But the police came in there. It sounded like a Michael Jackson video. All you heard was like boots, boom, 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 and they brought all the toys to bear. And those were more, you know what I'm talking about, those grenades that shake the whole room when they go off, and the paintball guns, and then the spray. They were spraying it behind it. They had a fan that they were spraying pepper spray behind the fan, and it was just whipping in. Now the blacks was trying to stay. We had a barricade in the front. We didn't lay down the bunks, and we had a barricade in the front. We're not trying to run into the back of the dorm. That's where all the Hispanics, they ran to the back to hide from all these bombs and shit. We're not running back there because we setting ourselves up to be destroyed. And so they bombed the dog shit out of us. None of the blacks that I was with got severely hurt, anything like that. They ended up moving us. The police like opened up the bathroom, which was big enough, and we all moved into the bathroom. And then they locked the door to separate us, and we lost all our shit. What was crazy about that is they separated us. They finally put us in over like 2-day period. They put us in our boxes and everything in like an empty dorm. I messed around and caught ad charges. They were constantly adding charges to my case. And so I followed the riot that started there. I followed it on the bus. 2 black, 2 strong brothers beefing with the Hispanics and the other in the separate cages on the bus. And I followed the riot to the LA County Jail. So it started in Wayside, which is out here in Santa Clarita, which is part of the county jail, but you bus all the way down to downtown LA, which is the other part of the county jail, which is called Men's Central. And so I followed that riot all the way to Men's Central, where it was taking place in cells. And that was different because you didn't know what kind of cell you were going to end up in. You might end up in a cell that's got 3 blacks and 2 Hispanics. You might end up in a cell that's got 2 blacks, 4 Hispanics. Like you don't know what you're going to end up, because some of these are 6-man cells, some of these are 8-man cells. And so I just remember getting on the bus, like brothers was like, if you go into a cell and you're the only black, like do not go in that cell, go to the hole. Because in the middle of the night, when they say, take off homies or whatever in the middle of the night, you ain't about to fight. You live in this cell. You ain't about to, you gotta sleep. Like
then if you locked in there, it can go all bad. So like you said earlier, you said the Southern Hispanics definitely run LA County Jail. So in what ways did they try to like enforce certain lines, made blacks do certain things, or what? I mean,
no, it don't work like that. It ain't a direct dominant. Blacks just that ain't gonna work. But to me, they were more involved in the systemic, like administrative politic. Like they were getting things their way, whereas blacks were strong. Like don't get it twisted, but we weren't necessarily organized as a single unit that had administrative support. Even in the pen, you've seen that.
Right.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like we just don't have captains and wardens like bowing down to our shit. It take a lot more. So what I've seen is that blacks are super strong, but a lot of times we're focused on other shit. Brothers is focused on individual shit, on their own particular hood shit, getting getting money or whatever case may be. And it's only when there's about to be a race riot or there's some other racial tension, now we come together as blacks to fight. Like we ain't coming together as blacks to, when I was in there, coming up together as blacks to gain shit. Like let's get better laundry together, or let's get better food together, let's do some unity shit to get something. It wasn't like that. They moved like that. That's what I meant by running it. Like it's not I ain't never seen that's just not gonna fucking happen. Like,
Right.
you could be in a tank with 3 people. The Southerners are not gonna make blacks do shit. But by the way that they organize and move, it has an indirect impact that does make us do shit. You know, like,
Right.
you know, when they were in the dorm, when I was in the dorm, and there were Southerners in the dorm, blacks was better organized. You know, paying more attention. You know, routines were different. There was just like a lot more respect when they moved them out because of segregation. It got crazy. Like, it just wasn't as disciplined, orderly. It was fucking frustrating. And then we started fighting each other. Like,
Right. So
that's what I mean. That's what I mean by running it. You know,
right.
I remember they got knives before riots. They get knives handed to them. How the fuck?
Right. So
You know what I'm saying?
that's a great breakdown, because I always like to ask each individual, because everybody's experience in prison and the county jail is different. And so,
Right.
I think a lot of times the Hispanics, they want to hear that they run the county jail and they run certain prisons, but it's always been my experience. They like you say, they don't run it to a point where they're trying to tell other races what to do. At certain penitentiaries, they may be more organized. They to me, like I say, they just they do their own thing. The blacks do their own thing. I've never been in an environment where they've ever even tried to tell a black what to do or do this and do that. So I think that sometimes a lot of people hear these YouTube stories or in these different narratives, and they get a different idea. They're definitely stronger. They're definitely more united and have bigger numbers, but and they're definitely a force to be reckoned with. But they don't try to impose their will on black people. So I think a lot of people get that misconstrued when people say that the Hispanics.
Yeah, it don't work like that. Like, not at all. Matter of fact, some of the best conversations I had was with the brothers from the Hispanic people that are coming from the shoe and all kind of shit. Like, we didn't have some good. We get some good thing, but like I said, by them being such an organized whale, like, there's a byproduct to when they move, it affects like the whole system. But there is no direct dominance. Like, that's not how it goes. Especially since they didn't have we had those peace accords that happened in the shoe. The end all hostilities is big, like really, really fucking big. I don't think people understand how big that is. Like, there's things and situations that happen in the pen that I was like, oh, this about to go up. You have a black with, a brother with mental health problems come out the cell and just waylay an Hispanic dude. Like, and usually that would turn to a straight full-fledged riot, but people talk that down and you use diplomacy and it went to peace because of those the End All Hostilities Act. Like, so to me, finally, brothers, people are waking up to see that, like, it's not benefiting us to have a racial segregation like that to that extent in there. It was only benefiting one group that I always saw, and that was, the people that had us in there in the first place. But yeah, county jail is a different thing than the pen.
Right. And so now moving on with your situation. So how did things end up playing out for you as far as the things that you was charged with and what have you?
So I went to trial for the first time. I went to a preliminary hearing with 45 counts of armed robbery. The judge threw out 7. I went to trial on 38. I just knew I was wrapped. They had to vote, like, the jury had to vote on each count 38 times. I got a hung jury on every single count. I was facing over 500 years at that time. We went to trial. We had to go to trial again. The DA withheld some evidence, so they were forced, kind of, in a way, like, it benefited them though, but they ended up dropping 29 counts. The judge threw out another one, and I went to trial again on 8 counts of armed robbery, and I got found guilty. I was sentenced to 65 years and 4 months in prison. That was in 2000. I got found guilty in 2008. I got sentenced in 2009. Caught the chain. Went to Lancaster Reception for a couple months. From there, I got shot to Salinas Valley State Prison. Yard, I guess it was.
Let me stop you right there. You said you got sentenced to 65 years. You're 22 years old. So at that
I was
point,
25 at this time now. I spent 3 years.
Oh yeah, that's right. You was in the county for 3 years. Okay.
Yeah.
So at that point, you're still extremely young, and now the sentence is final. The outcome has happened. So how are you feeling at this point? Mentally, what's going through your mind?
Well, like I said, it was heavier. Like, the light was getting thinner, but in my mind, I just went, like, my mom's, like, my support network was like, okay, the next step, like, we're going for appeal. Let's do the appeal. And so my mind went to, okay, the appeal gonna get me out.
Right.
So I always had something that I was, some type of future, something that I was focused on. So I didn't really feel destroyed or willing to give up. Like I just never gave them me. And I don't know if that was smart or not, but like I was always like, this can't be
Right.
the it, you know?
Right. So now
Um,
you sent to Salinas. For those of you guys who don't know, Salinas is a very notorious prison. You know the name, a lot of violence. It's one of the newer 180 prisons, which is a high security design. So it's always been a stigma of violence attached to Salinas Valley. So when you get there, what was your experience like? What's the tension on the yard? How's everything popping off at the time you get there?
but when I got there, I guess they had just cleared that yard out and were about to reopen it. So they were busting people in and putting them in cells, and nobody was getting yard or day room or nothing. We were just getting cell fed, and you just see people getting pulled in with their property and then go to a cell. People get pulled in, and when you came out for child, like eventually they stopped the cell feed and we'd come out the cell and you'd walk around and get the food. And so you're talking to your neighbors real quick and trying to figure out what's going on. This is my first time in the pen. So I was going to level 4. County jail different. Like a lot of dudes I talked to never been to level 4. They didn't know what was going on. So like I'm trying to get laced and prepared. I'm thinking that the pen is going to be like real black unity. And so I'm getting prepared. Like they tell me the rules, like, look, level 4, the people don't fight, period. It's going to go, it's either a hell of respect or it's going all the way up.
Right.
You show your paperwork, all these types of things. So I'm prepared for all that. Like mentally prepared, okay, this is where it gets more organized. I don't got to deal with all this kitty, weird, unpredictable shit. It's going to be order, or it's going to be, war pretty much. And I'm getting ready for that, and I'm like, okay, now it's going to be, what's black is going to be the most important thing. Not where you're from, not what city and all that type of shit. And then black, it's going to be black at the top. And so, I'm like, mind you, I'm trying to get home. So I'm just trying to figure out what is the program so I know what lines not to cross and hold what lines I need to hold and then get the hell home. Like,
Right.
That's what the fuck I'm on. And so I'm ready to show pepper. When I get there, I'm in the cell by myself. And I'm kind of like insecure because I'm not really knowing I don't know what lines mean. There's a different language in the pen than it is in the county jail. Ain't nobody saying radio,
Right.
And so I'm trying to like watch and see what's going on. They started because I didn't go to orientation yet, when they started running day room, they let the people that I guess didn't need to go to orientation have day room. So I'm like watching what's going on. Certain brothers would come to the door and I would ask questions. Like, hey, I'm just not getting in for reception. They'd ask me where I'm from, like Santa Cruz. They're like, you ain't got no homies here. Like, there ain't nobody in here. You know how that goes. Like, if you're from Long Beach, they'll be like, oh man, you got a little Bam in 206. Like, there was none of that. So I'm like, okay, shit. They're like, well, damn, you black though, so you need anything in there? I'm like, well, no, I just need to know what the program is. And they tell me what side of the day room was our side of the day room. They would tell me, like, I didn't know that don't walk across the line or walk across the area, walk around. Right. You know what I'm saying?
So explain, or I'll explain that a little bit for the people watching. When you get to prison, they have this big yellow line going around the outside of the day room. And so a certain section of the day room is for the blacks. A certain section is for, well, the blacks and Hispanics, the blacks and the Asians may share a side of the day room, and the whites and the Hispanics may share a side. And so the procedure is we can't walk through their tables and stuff. So we have to, even if our cell is right by their day room, we can't walk through their table. We have to go around the yellow line, and they have to go around ours. And that's really like for a safety precaution, I guess. We don't want a person cutting through the tables, acting like he's going through his cell and stab somebody. But it's a whole lot of, like you say, a lot of political things and rules that got to be followed that, we don't experience in the county jail.
Nope. You really need to have somebody that knows how to lace you. Cause like I knew I was going to end up getting a cellie, and you know how that is. Like I'm praying, like, man, please send somebody in here. Cougars being a non-affiliate, like they put me in there with anybody.
Right.
Like it ain't, and that was the issue, because a lot of times they put you in the cell with a person that nobody wants to be in there with. Mm-hmm. And he happens to be from somewhere. So you're not in the cell with one person. I'm in the cell with all 20 of your homies, because you could do some dumb shit in here. I could whoop on you, but guess what? Now I got to fight everybody, and they know you dumb, but it don't matter. You can't whoop on our dumb homie. You know how they go. Right. So, So I'm trying to learn as much as I can so that I don't create unnecessary conflict, you know. At the same time, I'm riding home. I'm all the way to Hell in Slings Valley, like it just feels far. And then the shift was, you know, in the southern, I'm used to just Southsiders, Pazas, Woods, others. I get up here and it's like Norteños and Southerners. It's new dynamics. I'm like, okay, what the hell? I couldn't tell the difference. Okay, some people got shaved heads and they stay on this side there, and these ones is like cool and whatever. So and then there's like a lot more, you know, Bay Area Crips, you know, and like so there's that whole new element. So I'm like, damn, there's more factions in here. I gotta learn. When they started opening up for day room, they were cleaning house a lot. So like I ended up getting a Sully from Compton.
And so when you say cleaning house, explain, you know, for those who are not familiar with the terminology, what does that mean?
Oh yeah, well I guess you know, people are doing checks on who's on the yard, and so some people have they've done something wrong politically in another place or whatever, and they need to get, you know, they don't want them on the yard, or they need to be disciplined for whatever they did. And so they're like, every day you already know, like somebody might come to the cell and be like, hey, you know, we're going to yard today, but the Woods are taking care of one of their own. Right. And so basically, like, go get on the phone, like whatever you got to do, understand that you only gonna have a certain amount of time, you know, or stay out the way so you don't get shot and shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, right. You already know what time it is. So like, you just put up on game. Okay. Then the next day, one of the others is taking care of their own. You know what I'm saying? And so, of course,
so what he's saying, you guys, is basically out of respect and courtesy, if another race has an issue that they have to handle when they're gonna physically discipline somebody that hangs with them and they want them off the yard, they'll and this is done for several reasons. They'll come let the blacks know, hey man, we gotta take care of something today. So blacks won't necessarily look up and see 4 or 5 people fighting and not know what's going on and run over there, and vice versa, you know. So it's a bit of respect. It's a bit of, hey, you know, this is going on, you know, so we can you stay clear? So it's a whole lot of things that go into that. And like I say, for the most part, is because like we with the blacks, we have individuals who hang with us of different hues, and so we'll give the Hispanics the same thing, because they don't want to look up and see some blacks over there whooping on a light-skinned black, and maybe the Hispanics mistake for a Hispanic, and they run over there, and it creates a big racial riot and stuff like that.
Right. Exactly. So it's like you always, and that's one thing that was weird about it was like the level 4, like as I came down the levels, there were certain things about level 4 that were predictable, even though it was really violent. Sometimes it was like you knew what was going on though. Like so for the most part. So like there was a lot of that going on. And you know, for the most part in Salinas Valley, that wouldn't really disrupt the program. You know, somebody gets stabbed, it's the same race. They come, if they get the weapon, it's done. They resume the yard. You know, you back to working out, doing whatever you got to do. And so it wasn't really a problem. But Salinas Valley was really known for taking off on the police. And so a few of those things were happening.
Did you ever see a police assaulted?
I saw a police assault, but not like a stabbing. Like they went to go hit somebody's cell, and it was they had this one tall brother. He was like the only black cop there. And he was tall, and he was like straight out of Django. Like he was on some Samuel L. Jackson's mess. And it was like, I was like, big old tall brother too. I'm like, dude, what is wrong? What's your damn problem? And some Norteños got on his ass. He came in the cell like he didn't need no backup, and trying to push people around. And they worked him in there, him. He came out and stuff like that. But that wasn't nothing major. Like he didn't get stabbed or nothing like that, because he was, you know, they weren't even preparing to hit him like that. But everything else, I just wasn't there for. I didn't see it. Right. But like, you know, there was a CO that got stabbed in the neck. There's a lot of stuff like that going on there, because you had some COs that were tripped.
Right.
But I didn't see anything like that. But I've seen a couple of, like, I've seen people taking care of their own a lot. You know, where I'm just like, I've seen old dudes, like a dude pushing 2 white dudes, a young white dude pushing this old white man in a wheelchair into the building, and pushing him up to a cell. I'm thinking he an ADA worker. Dude goes behind him to go slice this dude in the wheelchair's throat, and the dude in the wheelchair just happened to turn his head and put his hand up at the right time, but he still got sliced up. And then dude got hit with a block, and I'm like, damn, what that old man do? Like,
so
but some caught up.
No, I was gonna say, like you say, they don't have mercy on anybody. If you fall out of the good graces of whoever, man, you know, It's you on the line. So you said you was waiting for a good celly. So who, I mean, or celly, a celly period. So who did you end up getting as a celly, and how did that turn out?
I got a dude from Compton as my celly, which was cool. He was funny as a motherfucker. We was having fun in there. He was starting his term out too, so he wasn't transferred. He was coming in without nothing too. He had like a 10-year term or something like that. And we got along well. But only problem with that was he wasn't really able to like really lace me. He'd been to the pen before, but not on no level 4. And so he introduced me to a couple of his homies, which was cool because some of them were cool. But like they were having to lace me on stuff, you know, because he wasn't really lacing me with, you know, what was going on, like, you know, keeping your shoes on in the cell, like trying to, you know, keeping a lock on the door, like all this type of shit, you know.
Right.
He liked it like that because he really, to be honest with you, he didn't want no homies in the cell with him, no brothers, because he couldn't relax. Like you, he's like, if I'm here with another field, I can like kick back, relax, and I ain't got to be shit, you know. But if you got, you know, I ain't got to feed you, I ain't got to do all the type of shit. But if you got somebody from your hood and from your set in there, like that's eyes on you all the time. And so like he would tell me these things in privacy, but shit, you know. And so they were like, they liked the fact that I worked out all the time and things like that. And so they're like, you know, we feel like you got the homies back, so screw it, like.
Right.
You know, usually they want him to be in the cell with somebody else from Compton, you know?
Right. And that's how it is a lot of times in prison. People want, you have a lot of individuals who prefer to be in the cell with one of their homies in the event something jumps off, because I've seen situations where you may have it may be 2 Crips, and you have a dude in there in the cell from from gang A, and a dude in there with gang B, and they get into it in the yard, and you thinking you're cool. And actually that happened with me. We got into a little melee on the yard, and my own celly, who happened to be from another area, he rushed me. So that's why sometimes people prefer to be in the cell with their own people from their own gang. So did you see a lot of black on black violence up there? Any melees or?
Not black, not nothing beyond like a one-on-one. Like dudes would go in the cell, and sometimes they have to, you know, like maybe not a debt, but there's some disrespect over there on the chess table or some peanut, you know how it is.
Right.
And so they do some one-on-one stuff, but nothing major that I seen. Like there was nothing like that.
So you had mentioned to me one time that the blacks end up getting into a riot with the Northerners, and I'm asked this a lot, because it goes back in history where the blacks used to have a pretty good rapport, and in some institutions an alliance with the Norteños. But now, due to I'm gonna honestly keep it real. I would say due to a lot more of the less blacks being structured, you have sometimes they go over the line. And so that sometimes causes friction, And so
and I would see that too.
If you don't mind, break down or what happened when the blacks got into it with the Northerners.
Yeah, because there'd be stuff that would happen in the day room. You got certain brothers that just is not feeling the way sharing the shower with Norteños and things like that. Like you try to get to the shower and this and that, like damn the politics, the fact that we share the shower and it's one of them, one of us, all type of shit. They just rush to get in the shower. Like same thing with the phones. And so I would see little things like that were disrespectful that I was like, damn, if a Norteño did that, it'd be some shit. You know what I'm saying? Right. But what ended up happening is we were locked down, and we got a call from the 180 yard that was letting us know we were about to come up like the next day. I think we got a call a few days before. The porters were bringing the message around that there was tension with the Norteños on the 180. Something had happened with the group of blacks and all that. And so when we were coming up, brothers was like supposed to be aware that there might be some tension going on, But you know how it is when you've been down for I think we were on lockdown for at least a month. It might have been a couple months. So brothers were trying to get their canteen, all kind of shit. This first day, it was like, let's go get it. So people were focused on the tension, but people were still trying to program. So it was a top tier day room, and I was on the bottom tier. And I remember the alarm went off, and I remember I jumped off the bunk to go look because I was like, I already heard about the tension. So I'm like, okay, what's going on? And I saw all the male police and everybody run out the building, and they were going to building 1. We were in building 2. So everybody in there, I was thinking that it's going up in building 1 too. I'm like, oh, okay, there it is. During that time, all they left was it was one woman as a CO, a big old woman too, not athletic at all. Left her in there. and there was a black talking on the door, you know, and he's talking on the, you know, you people supposed to be down, but like brothers just wasn't, you know what I'm saying? And a Northaniel came and started, I don't know if he was stabbing him or just punching him or doing whatever, but that's how it started. And mind you, it's like the ratio was at least 2-to-1. There's probably like 12 Northaniels in the day room, maybe. And there's probably like 30 to 40 blacks. And that's what kicked it off in our dorm, or in our building. And so all the blacks that was in the day room that wasn't locked in their cell just rushed all the Northaniels, and the Northaniels was trying to fight, and it was just ugly. Damn near, like there's so many people that was strapped that had burned it. Like it was just ugly. And then the woman CO couldn't do nothing. She's spraying pepper spray in the air. She couldn't do nothing. The tower is shooting a block gun to no avail. It's just going up. And so you just have a bunch of blacks on the window. I just remember looking, because I'm on the window too. You just have a bunch of blacks on the window looking at what's going on. And one Northaniels went to the hospital for sure, but one Northaniel died in the day room. They tried to revive him, but they couldn't. He got stabbed too many times.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so after that situation, I'm sure they had you guys on lockdown quite a while and all that stuff. How did that
Basically
work?
forever. Like they was on lockdown so long, I transferred out of there. On like everybody was trying to get up out of there. Your annual would just come up. Like that place was down for over a year just because of that. I remember being back in Lancaster and asking about it because people would be coming from Salinas, and I'd be like, "No, is they still on lockdown?" Yep. Damn, for real? Yep. They really didn't know what to do with that. They did not know what to do with that. And they would come up and it would still go down. Like I remember I was there waiting for the transfer, and they try to do it. They'll try to release like 4 cells.
Right.
As soon as they get out there, it go up again. And so, yeah.
Things like that. For those of you guys who may not know, things like that can literally continue on in small increments. Like he says, every time they release people to the yard, literally for years. Years and years. That stuff like that can trickle down, and people are continuing to fight for years and years. And so what was your experience though, like you say, as a non-affiliate? Because people always ask me how is it for non-affiliates? And first and foremost, I want to say that everybody's experience is different. Sad to say, sometimes we as Black people, we trip on other individuals who are not part of gangs. Sometimes we're not, but it has a lot to do with how that particular individual carries itself. But sometimes that individual could be upstanding and doing all the things right, and you still have somebody that wants to bother him because they know he don't have the numbers. Like you say, it's one person can't whoop 15 or 20 people. So how was your experience as a person who wasn't in a gang?
Well, I had a lot of I did feel like there was hella pressure. Like I'd have let certain things slide that I got in my own self. I'd be like, okay, this is worth me going for, and this ain't. And so there might be a slight comment. I wouldn't bite on every single thing, because in my mind, I'm like, you ain't really did no damage with that. You just snapping, and really, you don't really get no points for doing that. You know what I'm saying? With me.
And one quick question, and you feel sometimes these comments were made because they knew that you didn't have as many homeboys as they did to back them or stuff like that?
For sure. Like I got in a fight in the in LA County Jail. This dude was hella disrespectful between me and some bunks, me having a conversation with somebody else. And I just lost it. He said something like he was being disrespectful, saying some stuff, and I was like, bro, like really, you don't even live back here. Like your bunk ain't even back here. You know what I'm saying? Like if you're gonna be talking like that, like you can go somewhere else. He's being disrespectful to somebody that I was actually talking with too. Like it was just getting on my nerves. And real quick, he turned to me.
One last time, and just to let the people know, you're no little dude, right?
No. At the time, I was bigger than I am now. Like at the time, at this time I'd lost weight, but when I came into the county jail, I was 210 pounds. I'm 6 foot, like, and I'm hitting the bars like crap. I'm doing sets of like 20 pull-ups, 25 pull-ups, like dipping, and like it's just it's not gonna be no flawless victory. Like, yeah, I'm gonna lose, but somebody like, I'm doing some type of damage, and like, and I was just cool. Like I'm not an asshole. I'm not none of that. Like I'm hanging out. You know what I'm saying? For the most part, I ain't like hanging like that. But I mean, like I'm cool. I'm not trying to be somebody I ain't. So it's like, what's really up? And ain't nobody got no guns here. Like, shit. Right. So like this dude, I've been in jail for like 4 months maybe, and like I got transferred this like after the riot, and my mom got arrested, my girl got arrested. I'm just like not doing good at all. I've lost hella weight, and me and this dude in the back of the dorm is talking, and this dude is doing a workout in between us, and the dude is saying like something like, "Oh my, I wouldn't mind my." He's an older Crip. He was like, "I wouldn't mind my wife working as one of these jailers. It'd be good money, and she just sitting there all day." And that dude would get up. He's like, "You can't trust a bitch. She'd be out there. She'd be sucking all these cops' dick and this and that." I'm like, "What the fuck?" But I'm not gonna say nothing. Dude gonna defend himself. So he's like, "Hey man, I trust my wife. Like she'd be good. It's good money. This and that. Worry about it." He's like, "Nah, you these bitches, this and that." And I'm like, "Bro, come on, man. Like you don't even know us. You get in the conversation, ain't got nothing to do with you, like man. So like if you're gonna talk like that, like man, go work somewhere else, because this is where we living at right here." And he got up and looked at me and like got all in my face and was like, "Man, if you sensitive, get on your rack." That was the first punch to me. So I just, but lo and behold, he was from somewhere, and so that was the first question. Like one of his homies came over there and was like, "Well, what happened? This and that. What do? Oh, I just got in the fight with this and that." Man, hell no. And they looked at me like, "Man, where are you from?" And I was like, it's like, damn, if I had the right answer to that question, it wouldn't go to where it went. Right. But yeah, I ended up like,
they try to jump you up in there, or
no, they tried to, like, he swung on me, and then the dude I just fought, like he started to try to swing on me, and I just came through the muck, because I know how many people's in this dorm from their group. Right. And I'm like, even if because I probably could have fought and handled, like, been in there with both of them for a little while, but eventually they all gonna come back here and I'm in the back, it's over with. So I was like, let me go ahead and slide up to the front. And then they all came up there and they talked to me up there. And it was like, it's funny because they like, it was just some weird shit. They were mad because I done whooped on the dude, and it wasn't supposed to take place like that. You can't just get off on somebody like that. I'm like, all right, whatever. They took my food that whole night because my dorm was in the back. I'm thinking they gonna, I done made like a little burner out this pencil. I'm thinking they're gonna come in the middle of the night and try to finish some shit off. And they didn't. The Bloods came and gave me some food and this and that, because they saw what had happened. And then remember I told you I was in the cells with one-on-one dudes that I didn't really know who they were, but we got cool. And so one of them got transferred in that dorm. When he saw me, he's like, "Oh man, what's up? What's going on, man?" We were chopping it up and talking. I was like, "Man, what's going on with your kids? What's going on with court? This and that, whoop whoop." And he's like, yeah, man, this and that and the other. And he's like, "Yeah, the homies are telling me like there's some skinny now affiliate dude that just got off on one of the homies in here and this and that and this and that." I'm like, damn, I didn't even know the story was so twisted that I didn't even know that it was me. Like, right. I'm like, damn, I was like, I've been in here. I don't even remember that. He's like, "Yeah, this happened like a couple weeks ago." I'm like, damn, I don't even remember nothing like that. Then it dawned on me. I'm like, man, they talking about me, man. Yeah. And he knew from the story, he knew me because we was in the cell together. We was busting down and doing all kind of shit. Like he knew like that was fucked up.
That wasn't you.
Yeah, so he went and hollered at them, and they came like they apologized to me because they knew that dude was like out of pocket.
And I've said that many times before on a lot of my stories and stuff. First and foremost, your reputation and your character, a person's character, goes a long way. So if they see you programming and doing a certain way, programming a certain way, and then you may get into it, a person will say, "Well, no, man, that's not him. I know that dude, man." And it has to be more to the story. And then secondly, I speak on too, if you stand up for yourself, it's always going to be some more brothers who will come to your aid and support you, in some way, shape, or fashion. So, you said the Bloods came and they gave you a little support, looked out and gave you some food. They done as much as they could do,
right,
with the fact of you not being a Blood. And I'm pretty sure there's probably some of them who wanted to go fight for you too, but they know that it's certain lines they really can't cross politically. But they still want to support you because at the end of the day, we're all Black. And I've had that happen in there times before too, where still you have dudes from other factions. They'll support you because at the end of the day, when they're talking, like you say, we're relating to each other, and we develop bonds regardless of where individuals are from.
Straight up, and that was like there's so much potential in that, because there's just hella potential. Yeah, so like just for the most part, like you said, the character stuff, like that always made room for me. Always, I would sit there and really try to use like whatever knowledge I had, because like being in there, I didn't realize how much opportunity I had from where I grew up. Like I thought I was like a poor kid surrounded by all these wealthy kids, this and that, this and that. So when I get in there, I'm like realizing that, damn, I really fucked up. I should have grasped a lot of those opportunities. I was really on some dumb, stupid shit. Like some of these people had to do some of the shit. I didn't have to do none of this, And so there's a lot of shame involved. And so like I would use whatever knowledge I had to help, I'd be in the community like that. Like, let's try to solve this problem. Like tell me what's going on. Like, let's try to figure it out. You know, I was with that. And then like, even when, you know, over time, you know, you've been in there for so long, you have rapport with certain officers where you could actually quell some shit. Like you could solve a problem just through diplomacy that way, you know?
Yeah.
And so like, I was part of the community in that way, big time. And so I didn't really have, like I said, anytime I went somewhere new, I'd always like, you know, in my head, I'm like, well, let me go hit the workout pile. Let me just let it be known that like, I'm not, you know, I ain't weak, you know what I'm saying? And then the conversations I would have, you know, it's just a way of being that lets it be known, like, okay, one, you're facing a gang of time, and one, you know, you have something to offer, and you just happen to not be gang banging. Okay, cool. It is what it is. And I would just know what battles, you know, really matter. Like one of my biggest issues was I got in a cell fight with another non-affiliate in Lancaster. Shit, you know, and I had to go to board and explain that. That's, man, I was like, this is crazy. Pepper spray and all the whole nine, because over something dumb. And in my mind, I'm like, well, you know, you know, there's some disrespect going on. And so we just gonna punch on each other a little bit until we get the respect back. That's not what that person was thinking.
And so
you know,
was this individual your celly? Can you
yeah.
break it down a little bit for us more?
Yeah, he was my celly.
How did that come about? The altercation.
Yeah, I get to Lancaster now. I'm like, okay, I done lost my appeal. I lost my appeal in Salinas, and now I'm like really trying to. Some brothers that I met in Lancaster, there's a lot of LWOPs there and things like that. So like they were lacing me on like taking advantage of the college classes there because they were free. And like I told you, I don't like effort. You know, I was like, I've been reading some books, but like all the school shit was coming up for me, and like I didn't really have no out, so I just did it. I messed around, got an A. I took one class, but I got an A in that class, and that shattered a lot of shit for me. I'm like, cool. Like it opened the door for some potential that so like I dove into college big time after that. And so I had to sell by myself, which you know is hard to get.
Right.
That is hard to get. I did not have a bottom bunk chrono, which means that I'm entitled to be on the bottom bunk, which actually kind of makes me anchor the cell.
Right.
So I was just basically going off the grace of the officer who was like, okay, you ain't been really causing no problems. So I'm like, unless I have to get that cell, I'm gonna come at you, but I need you to get a cellie. You can't stand there by yourself. And so I had to try to go find a cellie that was somebody that was gonna like, you know, program the same way I was programming, because I'm trying to get out. I'm telling this dude, I'm like, look, they done sentenced me to 65 years. I'm not doing 65 fucking years. I don't give a damn, you know, like I got to, I was reading the Title 15 and I saw the recommendations of like 1170. I was thinking about maybe trying to get a part. I was trying to commutation of sentence, like whatever it was. I knew that I didn't want no crazy shit on my jacket. I got to try to get up out of here. I was writing curb, trying to get bills passed and all kinds of stuff for the gun enhancement, because all my time was gun enhancements. So I was really on this tip. And so I found a cellie that was going to college too. He seemed like he was on that same tip. I'm like, look, bro, people in Lancaster, people do not hold on the phones that long. You have to have a cell phone, and nobody even knows. Like the person that gave that you sold it to transferred the next day, like or that you got it from. Like if anybody knew you had a cell phone, chances are you're gonna get caught. So I told him, I said, look, we ain't trying to do no cell phones, no nothing. I'm really trying to push to get the spotlight on us. Because I feel like if somebody I had all this faith that if the world saw this, that they was giving us too much time and they'll let us out. I was like, really, you know, I'm thinking that type of shit. He was like, all right, cool. You know, we're going to program like that. We're going to do the school shit and whatever the case may be, because our points are going to drop. We're going to end up transferring anyway. All right, cool.
And so you letting him know all this before he even moves in here. Like this is how I'm trying to program. I'm trying to stay out the way. So I want to tell you who's living is basically in correlation with what I'm doing.
There we go. Because I done learned over time now, like having different cellies, I learned like, okay, this is the agreements you have to have before you come into a space with somebody, because it's hard to get out. Right. You know? So I over time I learned that lesson. I'm like, okay, cool. And I knew what I had to offer before. I was like, okay, they're just throwing me in a cell. I'm just like a non-affiliate. Like, let me go ahead and try to fit in. Like now I'm realizing, no shit, me being like a non-affiliate and the dude that I am, the character that I bring, I'm a bomb ass cellie. Like I'm clean. I got my own shit. Like there's benefits to having me in the cell with you. So now I'm leveraging that. I'm like, look, bro, I'm offering you the opportunity. Yeah, to be in the cell with me. You know what I'm saying? And this is kind of what I'm looking for in return. And I think we could jive. And we did. Cool. All right, cool. We come to the cell. This dude, all of a sudden now he need to talk to his granny and he needed to rent the cell phone. And I'm like, bro, we done talked about this and everything. Like, he's like, I'll take the case, this and that, woo-de-woo, blah, 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 blah. And basically I bent a little like, all right, you know, I ain't trying to use it or whatever case. And you said you're going to take the case and this and that. Cause I had the whole sob story. He's like, I can't call my granny. She's old. I can't call her from the phone to collect. I got it. And so I bent, which I regret. That brother ended up buying the phone. So now, like, I'm not using it, but like, you know how it is. Your celly got a phone. Like you got a phone. Damn, you hearing every damn word that's going on.
Yeah,
shit. You know what I'm saying? And then he asked, like, do you want to talk to somebody? And like, I'm like, no, because really I didn't have nobody like you know, I was on some Bunny and Clyde stuff with my girl. So when I went to prison, I didn't have no big ass network of people. A lot of people didn't know I was robbing and shit like that. I didn't have, you know, I wasn't putting myself into the street like that. So, and I'm not calling my mama because my mama done got arrested behind a phone call. I'm not about to bring her into nothing. So it's all collect call for me.
Right.
But I can hear everything he got going on. And now, like, when he on the phone, I'm like listening for I'm listening for keys and shit. Like, man, they walking. Well, one morning that got on his damn nerves. I went to the gate and I said something. I'm like, oh man, they walking on C-section or whatever, or A section. He's like, man, I see him. I'm like, all right, cool. And cool. So we were cool together. So I thought I was joking. I was like, I just don't want to be butt naked in the shower coughing. I thought it was a joke.
Yeah.
He held on to that from that morning. He held on to that shit all the way to the evening. I done went to visit everything, not even knowing that done pissed him off. And so he started fucking with me that night when I was reading and shit like that. I'm on the bottom bunk. He putting his feet like damn near on my shoulder and shit. And because we were cool, I'm thinking that he just doing some absent-minded shit right there. So I'm like, I'm gracing him out. But he was actually trying to pick a fight with me. So he started doing a whole bunch of other shit, like standing real close to me. And, you know, I asked him like, what's going on? He'd be like, what you talking about? Like just acting like weird as fuck. And to the point where I was like, oh, fuck. So I pretty much told him like, bro, you can't talk to me like that. Like, that's not going to work, you know? And that shit escalated into like me saying, fuck it, just put your shoes on, man. Let's just go ahead and do this. Cause I don't know what the fuck is going on. You just acting funny. Yeah. So I'm like, let's just, in my mind, I'm not trying to kill nobody. And I'm not thinking you trying to kill me, but we both men. And I'm thinking these same stupid ass rules. I'm like, we just going to get some understanding.
Right.
And so, you know, we get to fighting / wrestling and the fucking light comes on. And I could see the police running up the stairs. So I'm telling him like, hey man, let's just, you know, cool it off. The police is coming. We can, you know, when they leave, we get it back on. And this dude start going berserker barrage. I'm like, oh shit, he trying to get us fucked over in this. The police come talk about stop fighting. I'm like, man, come on. And they pepper spray the dog shit out of us. And we ended up coming out the cell and this and that. And I ended up losing that cell, getting put in there with somebody else because nobody wanted to be in the cell with him. And what's funny is he didn't even get caught with the phone because until later on, because there's so much pepper spray in the cell that they didn't even come in there.
Right.
So that was my first 115. And I just felt like fucking. What sucked was like all the police were like trying to tell me like, oh man, you got him and this and that because his face was a little messed up. And they're like, you know, you won this and that. But I didn't feel like a winner at all. I'm like, fuck, I done fucked off. You know what I'm saying? The damn, like I'm trying to get the spotlight on me to get out.
Right. And for the people who don't know, man, ain't that the worst when you in the cell with somebody, you thinking you cool because we're in this small confined space, and then all of a sudden this dude go to acting funny or for whatever reason. And a lot of people don't know, man, sometimes it could be he could get off the phone, have a bad phone call. He ain't got no mail in a week. He get a letter. His girl don't want to be with him no more. It's a trip, man, to be in such a small space. You and your celly been cool, and this dude just go to acting weird. It's a weird vibe because now you really can't go nowhere. You know, you got to deal with this dude. It just a lot of people don't understand how annoying and troubling that is. You know, because now you might down there you having butterflies in your stomach. Like, damn, am I gonna have to whoop this dude? I'm trying to stay out the way, and it's just I definitely know the feeling. Yeah, I definitely know.
Weird. I done had cellies with mental health problems. I done slept with like basically a burner, like a makeshift burner, because I'm like, I don't know, because the culture is like you can't even talk about it. Like I get asked, like, hey man, you cool? Oh yeah, I'm straight. And it's like, damn, we can't even have like an honest conversation about what the fuck is going on. And so I'm here trying to read your mind. And so I'm trying to act like, okay, we are cool. But every time you move, I'm thinking this fool about to get like hell attention. You can't walk away.
Right.
Because you locked in there. You're like this. So I done dealt with all that. And so what's funny is like later on, he ended up telling me, because we're still in the same yard, he ended up telling me later on, he's like, man, I don't want you to think I'm an asshole, but remember earlier that morning when you had said A, B, and C, like that kind of bothered me. And I looked at him, I'm like, dude, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Bruh. But because I called him out, he felt like, okay, fuck, now I have to fight because he called me out. It was a bunch of rules that was just stupid. Like we basically threw away some shit that was important to both of us because one, he felt like you mad, and so I'm just gonna basically irritate you to get you back for what you said earlier that morning without talking to you about what you said. So I don't know what the fuck is going on. And I'm thinking, okay, this dude is being disrespectful to me, and my only avenue of recourse is to let him know that I'm a force to be reckoned with, which was dumb. You know what I'm saying? And then by me calling him out, he felt like, well, shit, I can't turn down a fade. And so all this shit culminated in us having covered in spray. I felt like I was on the fryer. That's how much pepper spray I had on me. You couldn't tell me I wasn't on the skillet.
What's it like getting hit with all that pepper
dude spray? Like, first off, it took all the oxygen out the room. So you feel like you're suffocating, like straight up, because the police is taking forever to they open that slot up for you to put your hands behind so they can cuff you.
Right.
Like that is taking a cool minute. And so I'm trying to calm my mind down because I'm not getting enough oxygen at all. I like low-key want to lay on the floor and get to that crack in the bottom of the door to get the oxygen out. But I'm like, let me just be cool. Fuck it. And they finally get me out and they threw me in the shower. And my stupid behind, I went right to try to wash all the pepper spray off because I got it all over my body. Like, it's like literally dripping down my whole body. And it felt good when the cold water is hitting you. But the minute you stepped out the cold water and the air hits you, the flames hit you. Like, so I'm like, shit. I was burning so bad. I was like, there's no way you can tell me that my flesh ain't falling off my body. Like, and then you look at it and your flesh look normal. And you're like, this is some weird psychological shit. This is pain. It was so much pain. I ain't gonna lie. I was telling the officers, like, something's wrong. Like, pepper spray ain't supposed to be doing this. Like,
right.
Something is wrong. And it's dripping all down, like my genitals, everything. I'm like, fuck. Yeah, and I'm still trying to play hard because, you coming. It's like 9:30 at night, so they walking us down. So I know all the people I know in the yard is looking out. So I'm still trying to be like in my drawers, like, hey, you know what I'm saying, or whatever. I think I might have had pants on still at the time, but I'm still trying to, like, keep a strong face. But I'm like low key, like cooking.
Yeah.
And of course, the lieutenant gets us in the room. What happened? And we ain't saying shit. Okay, y'all ain't gonna talk. It was all that dumb old shit. We signed the chrono saying that we weren't gonna have any further, issues or whatever. And then they sent him to go find a cell because they knew I was in that cell first, but nobody wanted to take him. And then it was like, all right, Johnson, like, look, you either both going to the hole or you got to find a new cell. I'm like, man, damn. Like, so I went and found another cell. And that night I was roasting really for the next couple of days because you know how it go. Like, it don't. Whew.
Every time you hop in the water, it's just like it intensifies it. It kicks it back up again. Yeah, I had a similar experience, man. And the stuff like you say. I was tripping on how you was talking about how you had to literally calm yourself down, and that's what I had to do to myself because if you allow yourself to panic, and I was literally thinking this at the time, I was like, man, a person with asthma, you can die from that stuff.
You do.
It takes your breath away, and then you can't breathe. So it's only natural to want air. Sometimes you may or you may not be handcuffed, your hands behind your back. So it's definitely a cold experience.
It is. And mind you, you've been fighting. So like you sucking in air. And so I knew, I just did the calculation. I didn't seen enough cell extractions. I didn't seen how it goes. They're not, if I flip out in here, they're just going to take longer. And so I was like, look, we're underwater and we're just about to, it was just some mental shit. I was like, let me just wait.
Right.
And so that's how that went down. But then I'm like, man, damn, I got this 115 now. That's just lingering. And I didn't understand it. Like, really, I thought I had more self-control than that. I was like, damn, I just did some really dumbass shit. And so, that was one conflict I had with a brother. I was trying to learn my best, like really, like when you pick my battles in a way that was like, okay, am I moving out of fear right now or wisdom? I didn't like to move out of fear because I still wanted to feel like, like a man, really, to be honest with you, like, I'm holding my own in here. But wisdom was something different. Like sometimes I gotta like, okay, I'm not gonna bite on that because that's I'm not gonna give them control over me to that extent. But at the same time, I gotta hold a line, or else I feel like everybody's gonna feed on me. And so that was like a real dilemma. So I was trying to learn every time I get a bad, terrible selling. I'm like, oh my God, I have to wait it out to get a sell move.
And that's what I wanted to ask you on, because earlier you had mentioned that sometimes, you had to pick your battles, and sometimes to you by you basically being a lone wolf, sometimes you had to walk away from certain situations where you knew that if it was just you and him, or you had that many homies, you wouldn't walk away, or the dude wouldn't, we feel that he wouldn't say that to me if the playing field was even. So, and then you mentioned earlier like how we grew up in a certain area where we have certain expectations of ourselves as men. So how did that feel sometimes, having to feeling like, man, if this dude didn't have 20 homies on the yard, I'd smash him, but he does, so I gotta take this route. How did that make you feel?
Oh, dude, it was it pushed me to my breaking point a lot of times. Like I literally be in the cell, like thinking, fuck it, it's worth it. Like this dude, I just cannot take the level of disrespect no more. And I had to figure out, like, am I tripping? Because it's like some mental stuff. Like, am I tripping? Am I being too sensitive about some shit? And then you don't want to tell. I don't want to go run to his homies and be like, hey man, that dude is like, he being an asshole in the cell. They're gonna be like, so like what's funny is like I done had a cellie one time where I'm just like, I'm being patient because all I knew was red and green. I didn't do yellow well. I'm not gonna sit here and talk shit all day and nothing like that. Like we either gonna fight or do whatever we're gonna do, or we just gonna be at peace. Like I just was not good at yellow. And so he was just getting on my nerves, like a lot. And I just raged for a second. I was like punching the bunk hard. And I got off my bed. I was like, dude, you were trying me. And he was like, cool. That's right. I needed to see that. And I'm like, what the fuck? So now there was like hella peace in the cell because he wanted to make sure that was in me. And I'm like, dude, don't be.
So that's what he literally said.
Yeah, this dude had issues. Like, he had. If we would have gotten a fight in there, and if he would have killed me, they would have sent him to the counselor's office because he had an episode. You know what I'm saying? Like this brother he just did not have what was going on. And I came off the bus into the cell with him, and so I was like, fuck, I gotta find a way to get up out of here. But yeah, like he was just trying me. Like he was really testing me, and he had a reputation for being like kind of like a lunatic a little bit, and so he felt like you do that, and he had like hella numbers out there. Like I always think back on like how I could have did that differently, but like I said, I didn't know yellow. Like I didn't, that seemed like a weird game to play. Like I'm gonna talk real angry at you and just show you that I got strength and some type of like shake the bushes type of shit and not do nothing. Like that just wasn't how I functioned in life. Right. Like if I was gonna come off the bunk and be like, hey man, what the fuck? Like I'm coming off because it's gonna go. Like, and so he took my peace and calmness and like, patience, like as a sign of like a weakness or something like that. He just, he wanted to make sure he wasn't in the cell with somebody that was like weak. And I'm like, bruh, that ain't the way to go for that. Cause he didn't even know the thoughts that was running through my head. I'm like, I'm about to throw my whole life away on this brother. Shit. And then mind you, what's worse than that is he was on a level 4 because he had like hella points, but he only had like 7 years. Yeah. So that was bothering me. Like, bro, you're not even in the realm of, and mind you ain't got to go to board or nothing. You can do whatever the fuck you want and then they gonna open the door. You know how it is. If you got to go to board, it's different. Like whatever I do, I'm going to explain. Right. At the time I wasn't even going to the board. I just had 65 years. I wanted a chance to go to board. I didn't even have that chance yet. And so I was really trying not to fuck off what I thought might happen between now and 65 years. I knew that something might change. And older brothers would always tell me, like, brother, laws change. Like, like you never know. You're not going to do that 65. You're not going to do that 65. And so for this dude to only have 7 years to be, acting the way he was acting was like that was bothering the shit out of me. And so it was hard. And at times I'd ask myself, like, am I being weak right now? Or am I being wise? Am I being fearful? Or am I being wise? And so, I survived that.
And earlier you had mentioned, and I wanted to touch on that a little bit. You had mentioned about the mask, but you said it, and then you kept going, and like I say, by me doing time, I know exactly what you were talking about. But for a lot of my viewers, they don't understand, And it's crazy that you bring it up that a lot of these gang members and stuff, a lot of us, we all had masks, but everybody with a mask on wasn't necessarily about that life. And like you said, but by this celly that you had, who he saw you as being patient, being kind, he took that for something different. So and it's sad that sometimes that's how it is in prison, man. We judge individuals on the way they act and not necessarily who they really are.
Right.
And so since you didn't walk around, maybe tattooed all up, sagging, acting like a gang member, he felt that he could take certain liberties with you that he may not have took with another individual, just
Right.
because you didn't have this certain mask about yourself. And like I said, sometimes it's sad how, with the brothers in there, how we will pray on our own just because he carries himself in a way that's different than the average person in there.
Yeah. And I like, as the more time I did, the more like I started getting involved in groups, especially when I got to Soledad. I was like really, really a thinker now, like really thinking about stuff and maturing. And I always wanted to make room for dudes to be like who they are, like, so they didn't have to deal with that type of pressure, because I realized how much the community was missing out on behind these masks and these, like there's certain brothers like, okay, like he might not be great at playing ball. Like he might not gamble. He might not like do drugs or nothing like that. But that brother know how to like write. He might be really good at some legal shit. And like the community needs that. But because of him not showing up in ways that are traditionally, valued, it's like, okay, we're just gonna make him feel like shit and like make sure that he's small or whatever the case may be. And Bruce gonna like use him to make themselves feel big or whatever the case may be, and shut that whole thing down instead of embracing it, bringing it into the community and being like, dude, like you add value in this particular type of way. Like I always was really considerate about that, just because I knew how I had to walk through stuff. But like I said, a lot of it was my imagination when I first got in there. There was a lot of good dudes around me that had I just reached out or been more receptive to, that I probably didn't have to suffer all those mental things that I was dealing with. Right. But because I bought into an idea that said like, oh, don't reveal this, make sure your mask seems strong, like make sure you look and appear strong and show up strong and these types of things, like I was doing that because I bought into that. I wasn't able to tap into all the shit that was really around me. It took me a while to really be able to tap into that. Like once I realized, oh, these are just people, because the tattoos and the way we show up and what we say and things like that, like people believe the performance.
Right.
It's a damn good performance. Your shit. And he here. Like shit. You here with, you beat the death penalty, you got LWAP, and like we done heard that you done did, you done knocked out Whoopi Graham and you done did all this. And then now you here like tripping and doing all this stuff. And it's like, okay. And when I was young, that shit mattered. When I got older, I was like, that's a grown man throwing a tantrum.
Yeah.
Like that's not wisdom.
And sometimes in many instances, it's nothing more than, like you said, a performance or a scare tactic. In my opinion, everybody who acts like they really don't care, I would say you might have 10 or 15% of people who really don't. A lot of those individuals, they're just playing a role. They want to be accepted, and they're doing what they feel has to be done as a gang member. You have to project a certain image, or you're gonna get tested. So moving along, man, you fortunately didn't have to serve all that time. So what ended up transpiring in your situation that got you back in court early?
It's funny because like I'm sitting here, I was writing to Curb because they sent me 65 years out all these gun enhancements. I was writing to Curb saying like I want to create an amendment to this bill or to this law that says that like we get a chance to go in our 25th year. I was asking for 25. I thought that was a cool shot. In the midst of me doing all that, somebody gets to me and says, hey, man, they got a youth offender law to where, if you were 18 or under at the time of the crime, then you get to go to board with all this type of shit. And they got one coming right after that to where if you was under 23, you'll be good. And I'm like, okay, word, like, let me see it. Let me read it. That bill ended up passing like, oh, the 18 and under one already passed. But this new one was in effect. That's what it was. The new one was in effect. And it passed. Like I read it, and like 30 days later, it actually passed. And I was like, oh shit. And brothers was like, dude, you going to like, because I didn't have a life sentence, I had 65 years flat or 65 years and 4 months with no L, even though it felt like shit. It felt like life. But I was eligible to go to board my 15th year. Now at the time I've been down 10 years. And so I was like, okay, I got to walk off half of what I just did. And so I knew I had a cushion. I had to go to board. I had a chance to go to board. So I started studying board. Now, what's great is before that, I was already going to lifers groups. I was doing all kind of shit. And so that was when I actually ended up going to board, they realized, okay, it wasn't because of, not to say that the board really, but it wasn't because of this law change that you started changing. Like you were already working on stuff before that. Like I already got a couple of AA degrees. Like I was already there, And so that was a benefit. That 5 years felt long though. I ain't gonna lie. But I ended up transferring shortly after that. I went up transferring to Soledad Prison and continuing the education, continuing the groups and things like that. This was a completely different dynamic because you've been on level 2,
right?
Have you?
Yeah, and like
it's packed full of people.
It's night and day from a level 4, and in a whole lot of ways, I preferred the level 4 or at least the level 3 to a level 2.
Right.
But
yes,
but in order, in order to especially when you have to go see the board likes to see us on lower levels because it shows that we're programming, we're staying out of trouble, and that there's different challenges on a lower level, and so they like to think that we can navigate our way back in society because when you're on the level 3 or the level 4, you're in a cell, so you're basically you're away from everybody, and that's not a problem solving method, and it's basically just it's not always something that you can do once you're in the street. You can't just go lock yourself away from everybody. It's not an anger management dealing tool. So they want us to be around different individuals like we would in a normal society, so we can learn how to navigate our way through, through problems and stuff. And so the bad part about the level 2, like you say, it's no privacy. It's dorm living. You got everybody right there. So yeah, it's definitely different from being in the cell.
Yeah. Because of my sentence, like I couldn't go down to level 1, and the level 2s I could only pick from level 2s that were cell living. And so that's how I ended up in Soledad. And but even in that cell, the cells were smaller.
Right.
But there was hella movement, and dudes were like, I didn't realize on the level 4 and level 3, the level 4 I was on turned to level 3 while I was there. So like I was in the same place. So you have hella space around you. Like I didn't realize how much space we gave to each other. When I got on level 2, it's like people were right up in your space. And I was like, okay, this feels like way different. I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna make it here. People actually bump into you and don't say nothing sometimes. You're like, what in the hell is going on? Because dudes have such short time, and you got people mixed. You got dudes that are doing super short time that never been on a level 4. And then you got dudes that have been doing hella time that work their way down to a level 2. And it's like, I can only relate to one group, but there was so much programming and so much opportunity. It was almost too much program. You remember, you used to a lockdown every once in a while. Like we up, and then you down, and then you up, and then you down. And so to be up for so long with that much movement, I was like exhausted for a while. It took a while for me to adapt.
Right. And so eventually, because before these laws that had came into play, you were going to have to do a vast majority of that 65 years, right?
Yeah, I was going to be, I'd have been paroled at the age of 78.
Wow. Those new laws, those youth offender laws, which were extremely instrumental in me coming home as well, they made an allowance for you after doing a certain amount of time to go to the board, because before you didn't have to go to the board. So go to the board and be considered for an early release. And like you say, what was very fortunate for you is you saw that for whatever reason, it was in your best interest to educate yourself in prison. And I seen where an individual, he got into he was under that same circumstance, except since he had time to do, he wasn't trying to educate himself. And so when that law passed and he was able to go to the board early, of course they denied him because he had been messing up his whole entire state,
Right. Yeah, so, it's unfortunate. That's why I really want to like the system. I really don't like, I'm an abolitionist at heart. Like I want to reimagine this because the system does not success. It's not even designed to get results that are beneficial to the community at all. And so I understood, like I knew a lot of brothers that were like that. They're like, I felt it in myself. Like, what am I really doing this for? It's just, I was so hard-headed and did not want to let go of my life like that I really wanted vengeance. I felt hella stupid. That's why I was like, I'm gonna get up out of here. But I could totally see somebody looking at the paperwork. They looking at older homies. They looking at people in the yard. That's them in the future. And they're like, man, this is my life. I'm not about to do nothing extra that I don't want to do. I totally got that. So I know that law caught them off guard. I was just fortunate enough to have mentors around me that was like, look, dude, being stupid and not doing nothing and just going to the yard and not doing shit is not cool. We're not about to give you no high fives or praise for that. Like, come up in this discussion. Like, tell me, articulate yourself. Like, that
was
helped
like
me.
that. I was like that myself, by me having life. I was one of those individuals that, man, I got life. I'm not going nowhere. So why should I go to this job, or why should I go over here and do this? And so in the end, it really hampered me way more than it helped me, because when it was time, when they did start letting lifers go, I wasn't prepared. So I had to postpone going to the board several times. I possibly could have been home 5-6 years earlier. So, I applaud you for, for taking that initial step towards, correction and seeking knowledge, being in prison, because with so many negative influences in prison, it's very hard to do, then on top of being sentenced to a lot of times, we don't always see the light at the end of the tunnel, man. So
not at all.
Eventually what happened? You was able to go to the board and be found suitable for early release?
Yeah, and that was crazy. Before that, like, I've been doing so much just in the community of the prison, pretty much, that I got recommended. I was a counselor's clerk and some other shit. Like, I got recommended for 1170D. They did a full investigation on me and all that. And pretty much the secretary of CDCR sent a letter to my judge and was like, he don't need to be in prison no more. Like, consider him for resentencing, which is pretty much saying, like, he'd be an asset to the community if you let him go. So I go down, like, only 126 people got this at the time. Like, I was one of the first people. It was early. And now a bunch more dudes are getting it. But so I go down to the court. My family, like, I'm gone. This is when I'm thinking I'm out of here. It was my 14th year. I get down to the court, and long story short, the judge is my whole family there. I got friends that then came out the woodwork and all this. People that I knew in the pen that didn't went home, they didn't showed up. And the judge was like, I see the benefit in. I recognize that you've done a couple things or whatever. But the DA was really arguing against it, like really showcasing all my crimes and things like that. And he was like, these crimes are heinous. And basically, this is what I'm going to do. And he took 22 years off my case. He resentenced me to 43 years, which I was going to board in a year. So I'm like, it was the weirdest feeling. Now, mind you, I went down there. There was 2 other dudes that I knew that got that same thing. And so after my court date, I go back and I'm like, man, shit, I'm going back to the pen. Like, in the same exact situation I was in before, really, and so it was like a shocker. Those 2 were going home. So, like, literally we were going to the bus, and they went to the exit to leave to go home from the prison, and then I was catching a bus to go catch a check. Like, it was a terrible feeling for real. But I'm glad for it in a certain way, looking back, is because they would have just let me out. Like, there's a couple things I need to unlock in my head still. And by having the pressure of going to board to explain my shit, like why I did what I did, it forced me to, like, really get to some root things, which actually helped me out now. But nonetheless, that hurt. Like, I was humbled significantly at that. But yeah, I did. I'm going to board a year later. Well, COVID hit, so it actually put it off. So I went down to court November of 2019. I was actually supposed to go to board in April of 2020. But COVID hit, and they pushed my board date back to January of 2021. I went to board January 26, 2021, got found suitable. Hope the governor didn't take it, and I finally got released May 7th of 2021.
So wow, man, that's definitely remarkable. And as you said, had all these laws not have came into place, you still would be in prison to this day, right? You said you was due to get released when you were how old?
78.
Wow, man.
Yep.
So that's most definitely a blessing, man. And
heck yeah.
So how was it, once you heard because I know what the process is like going to see the parole board and stuff. So how was it when they came back and told you that you were being found suitable? And so how did that feel?
Oh, dude, like, tears were falling, the whole nine. Like, it was so much work up to that point. Yeah, like, tears were falling. even the CO hugged me. He was moved by everything that was taking place. It was crazy. It was such a blessing. I was walking back down the corridor, and it didn't feel real. Like my hands and my feet didn't feel like they were mine. And I got to the phone to tell my mom, and she's crying, and like it was just elation of a whole nother level. You know, I'm seeing, you know, certain brothers. It was COVID during this time, so I couldn't see everybody I wanted to see, but like seeing certain people, and I'm telling them what's going on. And I could see their happiness, and I could see their fear, and some of them were eager to know, like, okay, like give me some information that would help me. You know, like there was all these things, and it just felt like I had passed. I couldn't relax all the way, but I had reached a certain point where it was like about to be a little bit of downhill from there. And it felt good to have them acknowledge a lot of the effort. Even though it was just words, it was like words with an understanding of self. That it felt good to have them acknowledge that effort, you know?
Right. And
Real
so
talk.
when that day finally comes, man, after doing all that time and they release you, you walk out. What was that like?
Shit. First, I'm laughing because my homeboy sent me some skinny jeans. That's like some dudes I went to junior high with. They was like my mom's like surrogate son, because my mom only had one kid. And so when they got the dress house, they sent me these skinny jeans. And I would tell you right now, I looked like Spider-Man coming up out of there. This stuff was so tight that I had to point my toe to get the pants on. And I didn't give a damn. Yeah. I didn't give a damn. I wore them things with hella pride because I'm walking up out of here. Like it felt
Do you
so
still
dope.
got them?
Yeah, I ain't worn them. I got them. They did my honorary. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah, I can't get rid of them things. Shoot.
Yeah.
Feet looking big, all that. I was like, damn, how is this the thing? But I looked like I was gonna save the day. Like if somebody would have said, like, man, help, I would have saved the day. But yeah, I was like hella elated. It was crazy to just sit in the car by my mom's, and she's driving, and we driving down the coast, and it was weird because I felt like everybody was like, I thought everybody knew, like that man just got out of prison right now. Look at him. But yeah, it was the shit. You know, seeing the colors, and like it's still surreal, dude. I'll be, and you got out in 2018, like I'll be on the freeway sometimes, like, motherfucker, you was driving a car on the freeway right now.
Yeah.
A year ago, you was in a cell. Yeah, it's great. It's great.
So
and it was great.
What like was some of the smaller things, man, that you enjoy, you know, that we sometimes take for granted or don't even realize how important they are to us until they get taken away from us. I know, like for me, I had a few things. I wanted to get out and get some fruit, some McDonald's French fries and stuff like that. What are some of the smaller things that you enjoyed, man, once you was released?
Just like not having to explain myself. I didn't realize that, you know, like I ain't got to ask to like go use the restroom or nothing like that, or, you know, like in the public space, like but honestly, one of the things I really appreciated, which was weird to me, I didn't really get it, is like women and the amount of effort that it's really like art. Like I went to a couple events, you know, I've seen dudes, but like some of the women, the way they were styling their hair and doing themselves up was like art. And I really actually like appreciated like just the uniqueness of the designs and the effort. Like I was like, damn, that's kind of crazy, because you know where we were at, everybody showing up looking the same. You know, the CEOs, you know, the women CEOs looking the same. And so I was like, damn, you know, I was noticing like details like that, like hair and things like that. What I also appreciated was like closing the door, like privacy. There's no window in the door. You go into the bathroom and close the door. There's no curtain that you pull in to separate you from your cellie. It's a door. Like I like that. The showers, being in the shower by yourself, really, you know, like I had that on level 4, but it's through the gate and all that. There's that. Like you said, the food. Oh, and weights, going to the gym, like with for real weights is a big deal for me. And then also the stars. Like I know it sounds kind of weird, but like even though we had night yard, they had them big old like lights on, and so we can see the moon sometime, but like being able to like see the stars for real is great. There's so many little things that are still happening for me now. Like just being able to go to the store with money and get what you want, like not having to wait for no package, you know.
Right.
You
No, I
know,
definitely, I definitely can relate to all those things. Just being free, man. We don't really realize how precious our freedom is until until it's taken away from us, and now we have to, the smallest things of our lives is being controlled and being managed. Like you say, we can't go to the bathroom, or we can't do this or can't do that. So it's definitely, man, freedom is definitely a blessing. And so.
it is.
We was glad just to meet you, man, and see that you're making the best of this second opportunity that you've been given and enjoying life, man. And like I say, I definitely can sympathize and empathize with you because I was in that position myself.
Yeah, I appreciate you, man. I appreciate all that too, and I appreciate you like reaching back and creating this particular platform to get to the real of certain situations, and not just glorify stuff, but like really, talk about it all.
Right.
That's because a lot of brothers don't have a voice out there, and and then when they do have a voice or they do have a platform, the only thing that people really want to hear from them is confirmation of what they already are imagining. They don't necessarily want to hear the real. So I appreciate you doing that, man. You turning your second life. That's all we really got. A lot of people don't get a chance to rebuild their life. Whatever baggage we got, we get a second chance of like, okay, who am I going to be in the world? And it's a responsibility, but it's also a privilege. So, I see you doing that. And you being innovative and entrepreneurial in how you're doing this is amazing, and it sets the tone, especially since you did like damn near a quarter century in there.
Right.
That's great. You taking it by the reins. So I appreciate this opportunity, man. I really do.
Hey, and I thank you, man. I thank you for just coming on here, sharing your story with me and everybody who are tuning in. I appreciate that too, man. Hopefully, I already know, not hopefully, you're definitely going to be an inspiration to people out there, and like I say, man, I was glad to have you. Thank you once again, man. Anything that you want to say before we get up out of here?
Man, man, what do I want to say? Like, it's people. Whether we're in prison or whatever the case, it's we're all people. I would encourage people to look through the performances that people are making and realize that no matter where a person is at, no matter what a person has done, they have dreams, they have fears, they long to be valued by a group. And if we recognize that, we can make adjustments and we could react differently and not encourage somebody to continue to treat themselves as if they're not a person, as if they're not human, as if they are the mask that they're wearing. It does nobody any good. If we can get the courage to speak to people behind the mask, to the actual person, then I think we could just make some significant changes where we don't have to be learning these lessons at 30-something years old. People don't have to do this amount of time. Like, there doesn't have to be this much loss. I'll just encourage that. Like, no matter how somebody is performing or showing up, they are a person under all that, and speak to the person. Best believe they're going to feel it.
All right. Most definitely, man. And thank you for those words of wisdom. Thank you for coming on. Like I say, once again, you guys, y'all already know what it is, man. We got Chris, we got your boy 16 in life. Y'all resume normal program.
That's right. All right, bro. I'll see you later.
All right. Most definitely.
All right.